Help me to reach 2,000 subscribers. The first time I saw them together, I froze. Not the casual, passing glance of strangers, but the kind of look that drags your stomach into a hard knot and squeezes until you can barely breathe. They weren't hiding, not really. He leaned into her like she was the axis of his world, her laugh spilling over him like sunlight, warm and careless. I wanted to tell myself I was imagining it. I wanted to believe the lines I had seen in his eyes, the secretive messages, the way he always seemed distracted when I entered the room, were nothing. But the way she tilted her head, touching his arm just so, the way he responded, an almost imperceptible shiver, made denial impossible. For weeks, I clung to small reassurances. Maybe they were just friends. Maybe I was overreacting. But the tension in my chest grew each time they laughed a little too long, met in hushed corners, or exchanged knowing glances I couldn't decipher. My heart waged a quiet war. Suspicion gnawed at me, guilt weighed on me for even thinking the worst, and love, stubborn, bleeding love, refused to let go. Then came the wedding announcement. Their wedding. I stared at the invitation in disbelief. My stomach lurched. My thoughts spun like storm clouds. How could he do this? How could she betray our friendship? My world condensed into a single, suffocating question. How had I missed everything? I spent nights replaying memories, searching for signs I'd overlooked. The nights he came home smelling faintly of her perfume, the cancelled plans he called work emergencies, the way she had started showing up more coincidentally at his office. Each memory stabbed me, and guilt whispered. Maybe I had driven him away, maybe I had failed. But the raw truth clawed through the denial. I had been blind, and they had been bold. The day of the wedding, I felt every heartbeat as if it were a drum of accusation in my chest. I walked into the hall, unnoticed at first, and saw them at the altar, radiant and oblivious, all smiles and vows rehearsed to perfection. My stomach was hollow, my hands trembling, but my mind was sharp with one thought. They needed to see the truth, in a way that couldn't be ignored or rewritten. I had prepared carefully. Months of digging, of piecing together screenshots, messages, photos. They were meticulous, devastating. I had converted everything into a slideshow, innocuous at first, casual pictures of us all together, until the layers peeled back, exposing the betrayal in stark, undeniable clarity. I handed the remote to the wedding DJ under the guise of helping with music cues. When the first slide flickered onto the large screen behind the altar, the room didn't notice immediately. But as the images shifted, screenshots of their secret chats, photographs of clandestine meetings, selfies taken in hotel rooms and cafes, the air changed. Gasps rippled through the guests. Their laughter froze mid-sentence. Eyes widened. Heart skipped. I felt my chest tighten as I watched him, the man I had loved, turn pale, his jaw tightening, a flicker of recognition flashing in his eyes. She gasped, her hand flying to her mouth, the carefully constructed facade cracking in real time. I hadn't imagined this moment, and yet it was more exquisite and devastating than I had feared. They knew, he whispered, almost to himself, but loud enough for the people nearest to catch it. Her eyes darted to mine, and for a split second, I saw something I hadn't expected. Guilt, shame, fear. And maybe, just maybe, a flicker of remorse. I didn't speak. Words weren't necessary. The images did everything I could not. They told the story of deception, of secret meetings, of stolen intimacy. Every glance, every touch caught in a lens that didn't lie. The room was heavy with silence, punctuated only by the faint sobs of the shocked, and somewhere, a chair scraping against the floor as someone tried to retreat from the impossible scene. He turned to me then, voice breaking. Why didn't you say anything before? The anger in his voice was thinly veiled terror. I could almost hear the gears turning in his mind. Fear of judgment, fear of loss, fear of exposure. I realized then that this wasn't just betrayal. It was theater, and I was the uninvited critic. I felt tears sting my eyes, but I didn't let them fall. This wasn't the time for vulnerability. I had spent too long in silence, in quiet pain, rationalizing, forgiving, hoping. This was the moment for truth, for the brutal honesty they had denied me. And as the slideshow ended, leaving them exposed, stripped bare in front of everyone, I felt something shift in me. Not victory, Not satisfaction, but clarity. The weight of betrayal was finally mirrored back to them. I walked out of that hall with my head held high, the sounds of murmurs following me, the echo of heartbreak in every corner. I didn't need their apologies. I didn't need explanations. I had my truth, and in that truth, I found a fractured kind of freedom. By the time the doors closed behind me, the image of them frozen in shock was seared into my memory. And for the first time in months, I felt my chest expand with something other than despair. The hard, uncompromising air of release. The story was over. The betrayal laid bare. And in the silence that followed, I finally let myself breathe.